Might just help you to know that you do have a lot of friends who really care about you.
Yeah, you're not one of them.
If you need anything, just ask.
Judy, please, look, we can go into the city. I've got at least a dozen friends who will set you up, and when things settle down, we can have another try. You want to get those changes to the system, don't you?
Yes, but I...
Well, then?
I'm afraid not, honey. Look, I gotta go and do this myself. You've been terrific, and I really appreciate everything you've done, but it's my battle, okay? You look after yourself, here.
Excuse me, I'd like to see Mrs. Davidson.
Have you an appointment?
No, but I think she'll see me.
You're with that current affairs program, aren't you?
That's right.
Well, Mrs. Davidson doesn't give interviews.
She might if you tell her that I've received a tape from Judy Bryant. She's made a number of accusations that I think Mrs. Davidson would like to answer.
Have you told the police? If you know where she is,
Yes, well, I thought I did, but I got there too late. Now, do I get to see Mrs. Davidson, or do I have to assume that what Bryant says is true?
I'll just check and see if she's not too busy.
What accusations has Bryant made?
You'll have to watch tonight's program to find out.
It's me, Helen.
Judy!
Don't advertise it, love.
Oh, what are you doing here? How'd you find me?
Well, there were only one or two Helen Smarts in the phone book and only one with model after her name.
Oh, I knew it wouldn't pay to advertise.
Look, I gotta talk to you, but not here, okay?
Yeah, okay. Give me a minute, then follow me up. Flat 6.
6,
okay? Why did you have to pick on me? I thought you'd be out of the country by now.
Well, I need a place to stay, you know, just so I can get myself organized.
No way, not here, no.
Come on, love, you're the only one I can turn to.
Judy, I helped you escape. I did everything I said I would, but I don't recall saying you could use my place as a halfway house.
Well, you live here alone.
Yes, but it also happens to be my place of employment. I've got customers coming over here.
I'll cancel them. Look, this'll help cover your losses, huh?
No, I can't do that. They'd go somewhere else and I'd lose them for good.
You're not going to settle for rabbit when they can have mink. Why don't you have that much confidence in yourself?
All right. Oh, I could do with the rest anyway.
Yeah, so could I. I'm bushed.
Well, I thought you'd be out of Melbourne by now.
Well, I tried. The police were on my trail, so I had to backtrack.
Well, where have you been staying? Your face has hit the front page of every newspaper.
I was staying with friends.
What a shame you had to leave.
I met this guy called Wally on the road, you know? He just wanted to help. He was a really nice guy. Sort of guy who wouldn't hurt a fly. Then I had to go and get him arrested.
Oh, great. That just leaves me to go.
No one will know I'm here, I promise. You know, since Sharon got murdered, it just seems that everyone I get involved with, I botch things up for.
Well, that makes me feel a whole lot better, I'm sure.
I got talking to Wally's daughter. She gave me some good ideas, you know. She made me believe that maybe I can do something good for once in my life. Tell things how they really are. That'll get pigs like Gillespie and Stewart. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try. And I can tell you one thing, I won't go back into that prison until they damn well listen to me. I got too many scores to settle.
It seems an extremely defamatory item to show. Of course, I will have to see it for myself.
Oh, naturally. But it is important we hear your views.
Mr. Hopkins, have you any idea why Bryant would send a tape like that to you specifically?
Well, I'm doing a story on another of your prisoners, Lizzie Birdsworth. She could have thought my sympathies would swing her way.
And have they?
In a case like Mrs. Birdsworth, yes, indeed. A 72-year-old woman with a bad heart, convicted years ago for something she didn't do. Now, tell me, can you see the justice in that?
Her last conviction was for manslaughter. What do you suggest? Release her because of her age?
Well, she certainly shouldn't be in a prison. If anything, she'd be better off in a home.
I'm glad you came to see me, Mr. Hopkins. I intended to discuss the matter with you. Lizzie is a special case. If your campaign is successful, it could quite possibly kill her.
Is this some sort of a whitewash?
Like it or not, Mr. Hopkins, this is the only home Lizzie has had for the last 20 years. Her only known family is in America. If she is released or put in a home, you could be sentencing her to a life of insecurity or loneliness. Where is the justice in that?
And if you'd done your homework, Mr. Hopkins, you would know that when Birdsworth was released, she deliberately got herself in and out of trouble until they were forced to put her back in here.
You see her as some sort of a plug for prisons, do you?
We are not responsible for the women ending up in here, and we do try to rehabilitate them. In Lizzie's case, it has not been easy.
I'd like her to tell me that herself.
Very well. But you realize she's been very ill.
I won't upset her.
Could you bring Lizzie here, please, Miss Bennett?
Now, about this interview for this evening's program. Will you do it?
That will depend entirely on the department's approval.
Yes, well, I don't think the department would like to see a one-sided point of view any more than you would.
Birdsworth, you're wanted in the governor's office.
Can't you get a bit of peace and quiet around here?
What did you say?
Nothing.
On your feet.
I'm not going. I'm crook.
You wouldn't be smoking if you were that sick. Besides, it's not good for your heart.
It's the only pleasure I've got left. The sooner it kills me, the better.
You know, there's a reporter who's trying to get you released.
Yeah, what do you want to stick his flaming nose in for?
He wants to see you.
Yeah. Maybe he can get me out. Then I'll be rid of you, wouldn't I, Miss Bennett?
And where would you go?
Somewhere where I could die with dignity. You don't get none of that in here.
And do you think being in a home will be any better?
What? I'm not dying in any old person's home.
If you behave like a geriatric, you'll be treated like one. They won't let you stay in Wentworth if you're that sick. You want to waste away, lie down and die? Go right ahead. But it won't be in here because we can't look after you.
Nobody wants you when you're old.
Age has got nothing to do with it. It's how much of a burden you want to be. And the way you're going, you'll talk yourself into it.
I've got nothing to look forward to anyway. I haven't even got many good memories to look back on.
Are you coming with me? Or do I tell them you're too ill?
I'll see him myself. I don't want you speaking for me. You'd like to have me put down, wouldn't you? I haven't got much time left in me, Mr. Hoskins.
Hopkins.
And I don't expect anyone to do anything for me, but the worst thing would be to die in prison. I mean, what would my little granddaughter think? All I want is a chance to make up for all the bad things I done.
So you don't want to stay in Wentworth?
Oh, you know, you're one of the nicest young fellows I've ever met. You shouldn't have to worry about an old crow like me.
Now, I just want you to know that there are a lot of people on the outside who care. And I think I can help.
Well, if you want to do something, maybe you could get me one of them visa things so I could get into America.
Lizzie?
I'm an old woman, Mr. Hoskins. I couldn't do any harm to them yaks. I mean, I'm on my last legs. I wouldn't get into any strife. All I want is to see me family once more before I go.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Birdsworth, but there's nothing I can do about that. It doesn't have anything to do with me, really.
Then trying to get me out of here's got nothing to do with you either.
But it could mean leaving all this behind you. I mean, living in a bit of comfort.
I got nothing and no one to go out to. And if I can't be with Ellen and Josie, I might as well rot in here. And if I do get out, I'll make bloody sure they send me back.
Lizzie, that's enough. Take her back to her cell, please, Miss Bennett.
You see what you done? My old ticker could give up on me any minute, and all you want is to throw me out into the street.
Don't overdo it, Birdsworth.
And I didn't ask you to stick your bloody nose in. And I reckon that TV show of yours just stinks.
I'm sorry, but I told you Lizzie is rather special. I think it would be a mistake to go on with your campaign, don't you?
Yes, well, you're probably right, Mrs. Davidson. But I'm not going to let this drop entirely. If this is your idea of rehabilitation, then I warn you. I think I'll enjoy our interview this evening.
So will I.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. How did I find out? Well, let's just say I had inside information. Oh, I don't believe it. They're going to show my tape tonight.
Whoopee.
And what do you mean by that? Oh, come on, Helen, wait till you see it. I really laid everything on the line. Gillespie and Stewart are going to get it right between the eyes.
Well, they might give you your own TV show.
Oh, don't be like that. Look, once it's shown, people are going to believe me. They're going to start asking questions. And when they do, they're going to have to reopen Sharon's case. You know, then Jock Stewart will go down for murder.
They might even name a prison after you.
Oh, come on. You've been inside yourself. You know what it's like in there. The minute we have a legit complaint against a screw, we're the ones that cop it. We got no rights, we got no privacy, we got no proper facilities. No one cares about us because no one knows the truth. Well, this time they're gonna find out. So just keep your wisecracks to yourself.
Listen, Judy, you don't have first rights on hating blokes like Stewart and Gillespie, you know. The authorities aren't going to lift a finger on the say-so of an escaped crim. And even if they do, there'll be 10 pigs like them to take their place. Look, I don't want to know about it. I don't want to hear or see of Wentworth again, okay?
You mean with the job you have, you don't think you'll end up back in there?
Well, it didn't stop you coming to me for help.
I'm sorry, honey. It's just that when I go back inside, I'm going to go back for a long time. You know what that means? I want to make sure that when I go back to something that's decent. I want to know that all this has been worthwhile. It's the last chance I'm going to get. And I've got a lot to make up for.
Okay, now wait a few minutes before you start the fighting.
Don't get too carried away.
Well, no biting this time.
But she's still going ahead with it. And this is even after he made a complete fool of himself over the Lizzie business.
Did he say what was on the tape?
He didn't have to. I can well imagine the lies Brian's come up with about Wentworth and us.
I'm surprised they're letting it go to air. Unless it's just for sensationalism.
Well, at least Mrs. Davidson's agreed that the women shouldn't see it.
Yes, I'll get Mr. Humphrey to move it.
Good.
Oh, sorry, Mrs. Morris didn't catch that?
When you finish there, Sid, would you mind giving me a hand moving the television out of the recreation room?
Not at all.
At least it's taken some of the pressure off Lizzie.
For once, that temper of hers seemed to do some good.
Yes, it shows she hasn't given up entirely.
But she's stubborn, and if she's made up her mind, she doesn't want to go on.
What do you think we should do?
Well, I think...
Why don't you look where you're going?
What's the idea of freaking Lizzie out and telling her she can't go to America? You know the shock could have killed her?
Well, I was only having a chat to her.
Well, we were not going to tell her until she was back on her feet.
Well, I'd make up for it, not on purpose.
Well, maybe you can make up for it.
How?
Lizzie likes to watch TV, and she can't do that if you're going to shift it, can she?
What do you know about that?
I know everything that goes on around here.
A few extra duties might keep you both out of trouble.
Ah, let the damn thing's on the blink again. Some television repairman you turned out to be. I thought you said you fixed this the other day.
Well, yes, I did.
Well, it's lucky you came in when you did, because now you can fix it properly.
Have you two finished yet?
Nearly, Mrs.
Well,
Morris.
get a move on with it then. Sid, could you take a look at it, please?
I think what we need is a new set.
Do you reckon old Gillespie's come back to haunt us, Bee?
Yeah. Last time it went on the blink, Sid reckoned someone had been tampering with it, didn't you, Sid? I put two and two together and came up with Gillespie.
Because you've got a very vivid imagination, Smith.
Yeah, I won't be able to fix it tonight, Mrs. Morris.
Oh, come on,
One or two spare parts.
Television won't hurt you. There are other things you can do.
Like what? Like watching Jude on TV.
I have with me in the studio this evening Mrs. Erica Davidson, who is the governor of Wentworth Detention Centre. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Judy Bryant escaped from Wentworth 10 days ago. She is described as dangerous, and anyone knowing her whereabouts should inform the police immediately. Now, a videotape recording was delivered to this channel in which Miss Bryant has made certain accusations against the Wentworth Detention Center and its administration. First of all, we'll have a look at some excerpts from this tape, and then I'll ask Mrs. Davidson to comment on them.
I'm Judy Bryant. I'd like to say something about the way that they treat women at Wentworth. But first, I'd like to say that I just didn't escape for the hell of it. I escaped because I couldn't take what they were doing to us in there. Recently, an inspector called came to Wentworth. What the hell? They didn't say his Now, name. the only way I can describe what he was doing to us is that he was turning it into a concentration camp. There were armed guards everywhere. We were being stood over every second. There was no recreation. We couldn't even move around the prison like we used to. And if we said anything about it, we were locked in solitary, or we'd be given filthy jobs to do, or we'd have our privileges taken away from us. And by privileges, I mean simple things like watching television or buying a packet of cigarettes. Now, they call that rehabilitation. They say it's just to help us. Well, I say it's nothing other than sadism and repression. They've done it again. Say his name, damn you. Say his name.
Would you like to comment on that, Mrs. Davidson?
Well, apart from being exaggerated, I am pleased to say the points raised are no longer valid.
You mean action was taken because of the referred to gentleman's harsh treatment?
Not at all. His position was only a temporary one.
Then why was this gentleman put in such a responsible position?
Sure, I'm trying to listen.
No one is saying the prison system is perfect. At times it is imperative.
Should I make mincemeat of you, Jude?
The tight security and discipline were experimental, but are no longer in effect.
But these conditions did exist.
Briefly. But you must remember, Mr. Hopkins, that dealing with such a large group of women under these circumstances, at times it is necessary to introduce disciplinary measures.
All right. Apart from these occasional experiments, what's being done about rehabilitation? Or do you only see Wentworth as a form of punishment?
Not at all. We have always held courses from sewing to typing. They fail from time to time because of the women's lack of interest and bad attendance. But we are hoping to remedy that shortly. The education department has appointed a teacher to Wentworth. And as from tomorrow, we will be incorporating regular classes in general education.
That sounds encouraging.
Yes.
Do you reckon it's true,
A
B?
large percentage of the
I don't know,
women
it could
have
be
a
just
low
soft soap.
education.
Hey,
We're
Lizzie,
hoping
that means we
these
might be able to
classes
start
will help them
studying.
when they are released.
Won't be much
What
good
about
to
the
me at
alleged
my
violence
age.
by officers against...
What about the business when we get out?
Violence?
I won't be getting
Shall we
out.
take a look at this?
A few months back, a friend of mine called Sharon Gilmore was murdered at Wentworth. Now, I know who murdered her because he admitted it to me. She was murdered by an officer called Nothing was done about it, except for him to be transferred. An innocent woman was murdered by an officer, and he got away with it.
Well, and what do you have to say to that, Mrs. Davidson?
They're not going to let me finish. They can't do this to me.
And there was a coroner's inquest. But there was nothing to show it was anything other than accidental death.
Then why was the accused officer removed?
For his own protection. The prisoners often get grudges against the staff, and they can become quite violent. So, in actual fact, the staff are far more vulnerable than the women.
Oh, I'm sorry, love. I tried to warn you. You can't beat the system.
Oh, can't I just? Now, if they won't do something about him, I will.
Like what?
You knew Jock Stewart before he came to Wentworth, didn't you? Come on now, Helen. You used to call him the Highland Flinger. He used to bash up the girls in the massage parlors, remember?
Yes, so what?
So tomorrow, you're going to find him for me.
Oh, no way. Come on, Judy. I don't know what you've got in mind, but just leave me out of it.
I'm sorry to say this to you, Helen, but tomorrow you are going to check out the parlors and find him, or you're liable to find yourself back inside charged with harboring a criminal.
Thank you.
Morning, ladies.
Oh, morning, Mr. Humphrey.
I cleaned up my tools a bit last night so you won't get your hands dirty.
Oh, that was very considerate of you. Might I ask what you're doing with those?
Oh, do you like them? I grow 'em myself. I could bring you some if you like.
I meant, what are they for, Mr. Humphrey?
They're for Mrs. Birdsworth. Yeah, I know. I'm probably not supposed to, but I did her a terrible hurt yesterday. Broke her heart telling her she couldn't go to the States to see her family. Yeah, I'm a stupid old coot, doesn't know when to keep his trap shut. Yeah, I know I can never make up for what I did, but it was the only thing I could think of.
I'll make sure she gets them.
You're a very kind lady.
Birdsworth, what are you doing?
Just trying to fix the TV, Miss Bennett.
You should know better than to play around with things like that. You could get yourself electrocuted. It's against regulations, but you might as well get them to yourself.
Excuse me, Mrs. Birdsworth. I thought you might like these. You know, my wife died many years ago. My son and daughter are grown up. I'm even a grandfather. But they have their own lives to lead, and I can't expect them to see me often because they live a long way off, too. I haven't seen them for 8 years, but they write when they got the time. Well, what I'm trying to say, it's not easy not knowing when you're going to see somebody you love again. It's kind of like the first time your kids left home. The hardest thing in the world is knowing when to let go. But I reckon I'm not telling you anything new, Mrs. Birdsworth. Or may I call you Elizabeth?
You know, it's the first time in 35 years that a gentleman has given me flowers, Mr. Humphrey.
Sid, please.
Well, that didn't take long.
No, all the girls know him. He's been doing the rounds. Last few weeks he's been a regular at Doris's. Goes there maybe twice a week.
You've done real well.
Okay, so now you know where he hangs out. What are you going to do about it? Just hang out in the streets until you find him? You show your face out there for 2 minutes.
Look, don't worry, I've got it all worked out.
Listen, honey, I know how you feel about Jock Stewart. He's a pig. But what's it going to get you?
Another couple of years, that's all.
You're talking about murder, Judy.
Uh-uh. I'm talking about settling an old debt.
Oh, this isn't going to work. I can't make a silk G-string out of a flannel jockstrap in a few hours.
Flannel jockstrap, I like that. I gotta remember that one, eh? Oh, come on, don't be so pessimistic. Just dress me up so no one will recognize me and leave the rest to me.
You don't know what you're letting yourself in for, Judy.
Well, you said yourself I can't go wandering around the streets, didn't you? Now, if this is the only way that I can get Stewart, I'm gonna do it. Anyway, I might be lucky. You could be my first client, eh?
You haven't even got the job yet, and I don't know... Will you look at the way you're standing? Could you stand like a lady and not like a bloody wharfie? Walk around. Go on, walk. Oh, that's bloody fantastic. The only thing you'll attract will be a butch Sheila that comes along.
Good, yeah.
We're dealing with men, Judy. Men. M-E-N.
Look, will you get off my back and just tell me what to do, for crying out loud?
Watch me. All you can do is make jokes. Look, assuming you get the job, and I doubt that, Stewart could have changed places. Do you think you can hack it until you find him? It's one thing talking about it, Judy, and another thing doing it.
Yeah, I know.
Do you? And if you find Stewart, do you think you've got it in you?
Look, I always joke when I feel cornered, huh? Now, let's just try this again. See how I'm going, will you?
It's better. But I hope You're a fast learner, Judy, in more ways than one.
Poor old fella. He must get lonely spending so much time by himself.
I don't hear him complaining.
Well, at least he's got his health.
He still doesn't seem like the type who'd give in when things don't go his way. Unlike you, Birdsworth.
Oh, Miss Bennett, I'm sorry for yelling at you like I did yesterday. You saved me life. Not that it's worth saving, but at least you meant well.
You've got no one to blame but yourself for being in here. And as you keep reminding us, you're 72 years of age. One would think by now you would have learnt to face up to your responsibilities. And telling your family the truth might be a start.
You said to me once that if people didn't accept you the way you are, they're not worth 2 bob. Well, I reckon Ellen and Josie are worth more than that. And whichever way you look at it, I'm going to be a burden to them and to everybody else.
People can be a burden at any age. They don't need to be old. They can talk themselves into being an invalid because they're too afraid to stand on their own 2 feet. They like to cling, to live off your sympathy so you don't have a life of your own anymore. So full of self-pity that they make everyone feel guilty about even being happy.
You're talking about your mum, aren't you, Miss Bennett?
And you, if you're not careful. You see, she didn't know when to let go either. Oh, by the way, just because we've had this little chat, don't think for 1 minute that you can take advantage of me. I'm not going to put up with your poor old woman routine. You'll be treated like the rest of the women.
Miss Bennett, when have I ever tried to con you?
Morning.
Morning.
David Andrews. I'm with the Education Department.
Oh, yes, a teacher. Jim Fletcher, Deputy Governor.
Pleased to meet you. I didn't know there'd be any men working here.
Didn't the department fill you in?
Oh, too rushed. I wasn't expecting to start till next month.
Yes, have you got any way of locking this thing up?
I've got a wheel lock.
Then you better use it. How long have you been teaching in prisons?
As of tomorrow, it'll be exactly 1 day.
Mrs. Davidson will explain the details to you, but basically you'll be subject to the same rules and regulation as the rest of the staff. David Andrews from the Education Department. This is Miss Vera Bennett, one of our senior staff.
How do you do, Mr. Andrews?
Oh, David or Dave will do.
We never call each other by our first names, Mr. Andrews, not while we're on duty.
Oh, I'm here to learn as well as to teach.
Then might I suggest that you keep up your appearance as much as possible? Casual clothes will only make the women think that we're just as casual in our jobs.
Well, I didn't think clothes necessarily made the teacher, but I'll try to remember.
You just sign in over here. Let's put there what time you arrive and do the same when you leave. And I'll take you around to see Mrs. Davidson.
Could I drop these into the classroom first?
Well, we don't actually have a classroom as such. You'll be doing your teaching in the library, but if you leave them here, I'll make sure they're transferred over.
I see, I was expecting. Well, not to worry. There's no better place than a library for learning.
The department doesn't waste time and money building facilities for programs that usually fail, Mr. Andrews. And going on past experience, I'd say you'll be back teaching in surroundings that suit you most before you know it.
The Education Department thinks very highly of you. However, I must admit you are much younger than I expected. What made you apply for such a position?
Well, I've been teaching in a lot of working-class areas, tough schools. Most of the kids have got sisters, mothers, someone they know who's been in prison at one time or another. Most of their problems stem from home. So I thought that if I could help to cure the cause rather than the complaint...
Educate the mothers first.
It's worth a try.
You mustn't be disappointed if the attendance is not what you expect. We can't force the women to go to you. Even though most of them have a very low scholastic achievement, they don't like admitting this in front of the other women.
Once I tell them the advantages, I'm sure I'll get their confidence.
You realize you will be regarded as one of the staff and answerable to the regulations. However, you will not have the authority to hand out punishments. So if you have any problems, refer them to me or with a senior member of staff.
Yes, Mrs. Davidson?
Now, if you need any background information about the women, we'll give it to you. But don't make a habit of discussing sentences. And certainly don't discuss the inmates or the staff in front of the other prisoners.
Oh, that sounds reasonable.
Now, if you need to bring anything into the prison, anything at all for the women's use, pens, biros, we'll have to check it first. Now, never give out your cigarettes, food, anything at all to the women. And certainly don't pass out any messages without authority.
You won't be able to absorb everything in one day, Mr. Andrews, so if you have any doubts, just check.
I feel like I'm the one who's going back to school.
Just don't underestimate the women. You have quite a responsibility, and it's important that these classes are a success.
It's not too late to change your mind. All right, I'll go through it once more. Try not to talk too much to the customer. You'll find that he'll know what it is that he wants. So just pretend you know what you're doing. Now, if he doesn't know what he wants, well, use your imagination. And for heaven's sake, don't look bored. Make him feel like he's the only man in the world.
Well, maybe with a bit of luck, I might find someone that wants to sit up and talk all night, you know? I'm a hell of a good listener.
I hope you're good at a few other things. Look, loosen up. You're not going to get the job if you look like a 40-year-old virgin.
I can't help that. I am.
Tell me you're kidding. Please, tell me you're kidding. Oh, hell.
Turn around. Let me get a good look at you. A bit broad in the beam, but not bad. Let's see your teeth.
What is this, the horse trials or something?
Oh, come on, Doris. Banner's been with one of the top houses in the Cross. She's certainly not used to taking inspection.
What made you leave Sydney?
Oh, you know, change the scene.
You clean?
Hey, would I introduce you to anything but the best? No drugs, no trouble. Just a simple girl who likes her job.
What do you specialize in?
Oh, you name it.
I'll give you a trial run. The house gets 45% of what you earn. If I get one complaint, out you go.
Well, I haven't had a complaint yet.
I've got some clients coming in this afternoon. You might as well start straight away.
Glad you changed your mind, Lizzie. You never know. You might learn how to write them memoirs like you always wanted to.
Yeah. How I mucked up me life and everybody else's. You know, it's a pity we drummed up all that work for old Sid. If he spent more time fixing things and less time bragging about how...
Leave him alone. A man like him has to be kept busy. Anyhow, I don't reckon he's got a mean bone in his whole body.
Well, my, haven't
Quiet! Oh, he looks young enough to be me grandson.
Yeah.
This is Mr. Andrews, our educational officer. As you know, all women serving sentences are entitled to classes ranging from a minimum of 1 half-day a week to a maximum of 5 half-days a week. I expect you all to give him your full cooperation. How much you benefit from these classes is entirely up to you. I'll leave it with you, Mr. Andrews. Good luck.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies.
Hi.
Sit down, won't you? Well, I suppose the best place to start is to explain what this is all about. I'm glad to see so many of you interested.
Oh, we never knocked back a chance to be rehabilitated.
Well, actually, I'm not here to rehabilitate. You see, the word rehabilitation means restore to its previous condition. Now, we prefer to think that we've got a program that's much more beneficial. We want to give you a whole new start.
Best way to do that for me is let me out tomorrow.
My way might take a bit more time, I'm afraid.
Oh.
Now, the basic program areas are basic education in reading, writing, spelling and arithmetic, general education studies. Later on, we'll introduce you to tutors in more specialised areas such as typing, childcare, sex education.
You have to teach us anything on that score. That's what got most of us in here in the first place.
Yes, well, then we have French, Greek, cookery, fashion and design, music, pottery and other craft activities. Now, our aim is to provide educational opportunities in a wide range of skill development and personal growth areas, including academic, social, recreational and vocational. Development of personal awareness, esteem, confidence and appropriate social attitudes is our main aim.
What's he on about, B?
Oh, no.
We'll concentrate on human relationships and personal development, pre-release courses and career education, recreational and creative arts programs.
Oh, boy, I hope you teach better than you talk, Sonny. Otherwise, we're all going to walk out of here more ignorant than we came in.
You don't look terribly happy, Mr. Andrews. I hope they didn't give you too hard a time.
Not their fault. I went at it a bit too eagerly. Got ahead of myself.
Some of these women can't even read properly. The only thing they need to know is how to look after their families. They've got no intention of learning.
Well, tomorrow will be different. I'll try a different approach. They're like children, really. I know the kids at school like to try out a new teacher. But once I establish my authority and win their trust, you see, I have to give them the desire to want to learn, to improve themselves.
They don't want an education, Mr. Andrews. Some of these women haven't done a hard day's work in their lives, and they don't intend to. You're not dealing with ordinary housewives. There's murderers, prostitutes, drug addicts. Not one of them can be trusted. And the more ideas you put into their heads, the worse they'll become.
Oh, thanks for your help, Miss Bennett. It isn't easy starting off in a job like this. Just talking about it, it helps.
Well,
And I really appreciate you letting me talk to the women alone like that. I know that in some prisons, well, the officers tend to inhibit everyone by remaining in the classroom. But you've been most understanding.
I reckon we should give him another chance. And then if he doesn't get any better, well, he's a nice enough young bloke. Maybe he'd like to do a few favours for some of the girls who are a bit hard up.
Yeah, well, I reckon he's too smart for his own good. All them big words, he's just showing off.
Yeah, well, he could have fooled me. I saw the way you were eyeing him up and down.
I didn't. Oh, well, he looks okay, but he's a lousy teacher. Just 'cause he's kind of cute, well, that doesn't mean nothing.
I don't believe my ears. Did I just hear Lizzie almost laugh? Hey, Doreen, did you hear anything?
Could have been a cough butt.
Yeah, must have been. After all, what could a person on their last legs find to laugh at?
I'm not dead yet, you know.
Well, Lizzie, welcome back to the land of the living.
Maybe it's because you've started to tell the truth for once. Makes you feel better, eh, Lizzie?
Yeah, it does, as a matter of fact. But I can't tell them the whole truth, else the screws will find out that I didn't kill KY.
Yeah. What have you told them?
Oh, just that I'm not getting out when I thought I was, and that was an accident and I had a rotten judge.
Here, here.
You and Josie deserve a nice fella to look after you, so you make sure that you're happy, because if you're not happy when you're young, you never will be. Just knowing you're happy is all that I could ever ask. And one day when you feel like coming back for a holiday or something, I'll be waiting. All my love, Lizzie.
That's real nice, Lizzie.
You gotta know when to let go.
I can't say the clients have been over-enthusiastic. But there again, no one's complained. So the job's yours.
Thanks.
Same time tomorrow, then. I hope we managed to please you today, Mr. Stewart.
You're on a low-class dive, a low-class horse. They all disgust me.
If you didn't pay so well, I'd... You let me know if that pig ever gets too rough on you, sweetie. I'll sick one of the boys onto him.
Feeling better? Here, get this into you.
Aren't you working tonight?
I thought you could use someone to talk to.
Yeah, sure. How was work today, Jude? Everything go all right at the brothel, honey?
No one's making you go back, you know.
I don't know how you can look at yourself in the mirror.
Easy. I've got my self-respect.
Self-respect? You do this out of choice, for crying out loud.
It's a job. Pays well. Most of my clients treat me well. And it's the only thing I know how to do best. The only one that can take away your self-respect's yourself.
You trying to tell me you like what you do?
This might surprise you, but I do. Get out of it, Judy, before it destroys you. Go on and you'll end up hating yourself as much as you hate Jock Stewart. No one's worth that, no matter what they've done. All right, you want to sink as low as him? Go right ahead. But you're the one that's going to have to live with it, all of it.
I've already sunk as low as I can go. But I'm taking him with me.
The idea of these tests is to give me an idea of what you know, how far advanced you are. Come on, ladies, there's nothing to be afraid of. I'm the only one who's going to see the papers. I expect it to be your own work. Doreen, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, Mr. Andrews, but I wasn't cheating, honest. I was just looking to see if B got the answer right.
Are you having difficulty answering these questions?
This is kid stuff.
Yes, well, I thought I'd start you off on something simple just so that you could get the feel of it.
Oh, I've got the feel of it all right.
Yeah. What good's knowing the capital of Japan if we can't even get a visa to go and have a look?
Look, when I ask you to do something, I expect you to do it. I'm not here to waste my time.
And neither are we.
I need to know what areas you'd be best suited to.
So you reckon we're going to be left in here folding sheets for the rest of our lives?
Is this going to help me get a job?
Well, no.
Well, it's a waste of flaming time.
But you're not seriously thinking of working?
I'm not finished yet, you know, and if Sid can do a good day's work, there's nothing stopping me either.
All right, all right. Why don't you tell me what you'd all like to be when you get out?
I'd like to be a bus driver. So I could run down smart-ass young teachers who seem to imagine that anyone on the inside's got the brains of a one-year-old. All those words you were using yesterday? Esteem, confidence, personal assurance. You know, you ought to learn what those words mean before you start trying to teach them.
Don't suppose I could borrow a cigarette, could I, Mr. Andrews?
You get all you need from the buy-up.
Well, didn't you pick up the rules quickly? Shame you didn't pick up some common sense to go along with that brain of yours.
Do you mind if I join you?
If you like.
Have you worked here long, Miss Bennett?
Quite a few years.
I need your advice. I can't seem to get through to the women at all. I gave them an aptitude test today to see if they've got a flair in any one direction, but they wouldn't do the papers.
They're not going to do something like that in front of the others. They'd be too ashamed to admit how stupid they are.
You mean I should give it to them individually?
If you can be bothered. But if you're looking for results, you'll be wasting your time. Oh, they're cunning, all right, but not too bright.
And what about this B. Smith?
A ringleader. She thinks she's brighter than she really is. She won't do a test paper because she can't afford to lose face in front of her lackeys.
Well, I'll keep that in mind. I tried being firm, but it didn't seem to work.
And you mustn't have meant it. They're very quick to pick up whether it's an act or not.
Look, would you mind if I occasionally checked with you about the women or where I'm going wrong? I need someone to talk to, and you've been great.
Well, no, I don't mind. I think I'll be able to give you quite a bit of good advice, Mr. Andrews.
And now that we're alone, any chance I can get you to call me David?
Well, I don't see why not. I'm Vera.
Hi.
Well, well, well. Isn't it amazing what a few flowers do for a person?
Yeah, but maybe it's got something to do with where they came from.
Do you have to sneak up on me like that? Can't a person spend some time on her own?
Oh, and snaky to boot. Now, what do you suppose might cause that, Doreen?
Well, I think Lizzie's found a boyfriend.
Look who's talking. I saw the way you're eyeing off that pipsqueak who calls himself a teacher.
That's a lie. And I was just feeling sorry for him, if you must know.
Anyway, stop changing the subject, Lizzie. Now, have you got a soft spot for Sid or not?
He's all right. At least I got someone to talk to me own age.
Ah, talking about old times, huh? Chatting away about the Depression.
We got better things to talk about than that.
Yeah, I bet.
I was just beginning to feel my old self again. I might even come back to laundry tomorrow.
Aren't you going back to the classes, Lizzie?
What? Not while that young whippersnapper rules the roosts there.
What about you, B?
What's the matter what I do? Listen, love, if you think you can get something out of those classes, well, go ahead. Doesn't matter what anyone else says. Okay?
We didn't expect you back quite so soon, Mr. Stewart.
You're going to have to learn not to take such a great interest in your clients, Doris.
It's just that I like to look after my special customers. If I'd known you were coming... Sally isn't here, you see.
We better get somebody else, then.
Yes, of course. If you'd like to wait in there, I'll see you're well looked after.
You don't, Lassie.
Oh, Amanda, is everything all right?
Not a worry in the world, Doris.
When you first escaped, I thought you might have come after me. I didn't think you'd forget that very easily. Now it looks like I got you just where I want you, Lassie.